It's the Fulhamish podcast, your independent voice of Fulham FC. My name's Sammy James. Welcome to the show. Today, we're looking ahead to our crunch game against Sunderland at Craven Cottage. Champions League chasing Sunderland. I don't think many of us would have expected that at the beginning of the season. It's become a little bit of a must win, and it's not going to be an easy one. With our fixtures coming up, it's starting to look a bit squeaky for Fulham, especially when you consider that Rodrigo Muniz is now injured until the new year. In today's episode, we'll look ahead to the game, discuss Rodrigo Muniz, and look back at some Fulham players in internationals. I'm joined on the Thursday Club on a Wednesday today by John Charles. Hello.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure. Welcome back.
Yeah, no, it's good to be here always.
And then Jack Collins.
Hello, Sammy. I've got slight correction to make on your intro. Title chasing Sunderland. Sorry, rather than Champions League chasing Sunderland.
Title chasing Sunderland.
Title chasing Sunderland.
Be real.
Title chasing Sunderland.
Oh my word.
Are Liverpool in the title race?
No.
Yeah, okay. Are Man City in the title race?
Yes.
Well, Sunderland are pretty much there and thereabouts, are they not?
Sunderland are not winning the league.
Of course they're not winning the league, but they're currently in the title
They're
race.
They're not going to be chasing the title either, especially after Saturday when we get all 3 points.
Yeah, put a stop to it.
We're a day early on the preview today. Blame me for that one with the scheduling. But we'll look ahead to Sunderland in a minute. First of all, let's look back at the internationals. Because we're doing this a day early, we are missing a few players. Joachim Andersen's in a crunch game for Denmark away at Scotland tonight.
Yes.
But I think the headline has to be from the international break. Nigeria, the Super Eagles were very much not that super against the Democratic Republic of Congo. Knocked out in the playoffs on penalties. Calvin Bassey missed a penalty, and Jack in a 2 or 3 week period where it feels like things keep going wrong for Fulham. I feel like Chukwueze, Iwobi and Bassey all having a confidence shattering defeat on the international stage is probably not what we needed here.
No, really not. And it was a strange one. All 3 of them started in this game. Iwobi got about 77 odd minutes. Chukwueze got about 60. And Calvin Bassey played the whole 120 plus the penalties, as you mentioned. It was a really strange game, this. I watched it at the time, and I actually thought they were really impressive in their game in the semi-final. They ended up going to extra time, but actually they were the better side, I thought, over 90 minutes, and they were unlucky not to win that game. The Lamina strike that was deflected ended up sending them all the way to extra time, where they then put on a dismantling clinic, and Victor Osimhen played really well. But this game was weird because they took the ascendancy early on and they scored the opener, and the Congo grew into it a bit, but really felt like the moment that changed the game happened at half time. Victor Osimhen limps off. And we talk about the Fulham players in this. You're expecting Iwobi in particular and Chukwueze to kind of take up some of the attacking slack from that team. And there's plenty of other very talented players in this Nigeria team. It just felt like they completely lost all hope and confidence the moment Osimhen walked off the pitch. And I can understand having a talisman, but the facts were that they were at 1-1 and they'd been the better side in the first half, and the second half couldn't have been more different. It was all DR Congo. They were unlucky not to win this in normal time, and actually Nigeria taking it all the way to penalties. It was a strange shootout. I don't know how much of it you've seen. Bottles flying onto the pitch, players having to kick bottles away while they're taking penalties. It wasn't great. I don't think that the ref, I feel like the ref probably should have pulled the players off the pitch, if I'm honest, but yeah, just another blow, I think. And look, I kind of try to work out the international break by writing good, unsure, bad. There's a lot in the unsure because there's a lot of things still riding on it, but just as bad Nigeria boys at the moment. So yeah, a really disheartening one for them.
Yeah, I just wonder, John, if this is, if there will be a hangover to Fulham. I think it's the problem with when you have a lot of your eggs in one international basket is sometimes it can come back and can affect. If you've got lots of players in lots of different countries, it's kind of fine if 1 or 2 of them have a bad international break. But I just slightly worry. And also we're getting towards that point now of when they're going to be going off for AFCONs. It feels like these guys are doing has more harm than good their international careers right now.
Yeah, not what you want. I didn't watch the game, but a brilliant breakdown of it from Jack, as you'd expect. And yeah, I mean, it just feels a little bit like that's going to happen to Fulham this season. Obviously Wales and Harry Wilson, we'll get into that in a second, but yeah, not good. Those boys bring all of the vibes, and I feel like they're going to be turning up.
Vibes are low.
Very low.
Oh, man. Maybe I thought Sammy Chukwueze would have been inspired by his This'll Catch On song.
Well, maybe he hasn't heard it yet. He was keeping that for the flight home.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah, that episode's in the saved files at the moment.
That's what he needed. He just needed a bit of Niles. If he'd have listened to some Niles Barkley, he'd have bagged a hat trick beforehand. Let's come on to the good. Sanderberg will be going to the World Cup. And I must admit, a pay rise for whoever is Sandberger's social media admin, because the post that he put, the dance of him, Martin Odegaard and Erling Haaland dancing down the streets of, I don't know where it was, like Philly or something like that, with their faces superimposed onto it. Sublime. And if you haven't seen it, go to Sandberg's Instagram. You will not regret it. Yeah,
it was a brilliant video. It was also a really good performance, I thought, from Sanderberger. You know, this was a game.
They won 4-1 away in Italy, didn't they?
So effectively, they needed to not lose this game 9-0. Right? That was what the turnaround would have needed to have been for them not to qualify for the World Cup. But what I loved about this, and I've been talking about this as the Norway team in general, to go 1-0 down very early on, Pio Esposito scored, and you're thinking, okay, they're not going to win 9-0, right? But there is an element about it when you're thinking about it and going, okay, all we need to do is maybe shut up shop a little bit here. And Norway did really well to then just shut the doors down, and Sanderberg was a big part of putting out the fires in the middle. There was a lot of central midfielders on this pitch. Norway played with the two in midfield, and I thought he did a really, really good job of funneling all the issues, into different parts of the pitch and making sure that there was no way through. And then in the second half, he was the rock on which this incredible 4-goal salvo, 3 of them coming in 15-minute spell, was based. He just looks really comfortable in there next to Patrick Berg. He's a really, really important part of how this Norway side operates, because whilst Christopher Ajer is there at the back, there are a couple of other players who you'd say, okay, maybe not quite to the same standard as some of the forward line, at the very least. And Ørjan Nyland is in goal. I don't know how much I trust Ørjan Nyland. If I'm looking at kind of where you can maybe go at Norway and say, how do you get the better of them? That's where it is, not in terms of trying to keep this attack at bay. But Sanderberger does a really good job, I think, of screening for his national team. And it was a really good performance from him, a really good performance from Norway. And that, going back to their first World Cup since 1998, is pretty incredible. And what a group of players. They've been brilliant all the way through qualifying. Absolutely sensational from the first minute. They've won 8 out of 8. They've scored 36 goals. They're unbelievably
a third of those against Moldova, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but you still got 4 of them against Italy at the weekend. Yeah. And this isn't the best Italy side in the world, but it's still Italy. And to go there and win on their turf when all they needed to do was a draw, I think it was a statement of intent. And Sanders a very, very key part of this Norway team.
Can we learn anything from Sanders? Because I think a lot of people have been getting frustrated with Sanderberger in the last few weeks and the way he's been playing for Fulham. Is there anything tactically that Marco can learn from how he's utilised for Norway? It sounds like he's utilised on his own, not as part of a double pivot.
No, it's very much a double pivot.
Right.
And yeah, look, Patrick Berg is a slightly more offensively creative player, right? And he's been doing that for Bede Glimt for a while. But you look at the way that they attack, and it's very much from the two flanks. Thorsved and Nusa in this one, and then they played 2 strikers in Erling Haaland and Alexander Sørloth with Jørgen Strand Larsen coming off the bench. It's not like Sanderberger is there being the main creative fulcrum for this team. It funnels down the wings, and you know what? If Fulham could play 4-4-2, yeah, maybe, but ultimately we don't have 2 fit strikers.
You need 2 strikers for that one, yeah.
So I feel like. Not really. There are learnings, and look, maybe it is a case of putting someone who has the ability to pick a forward pass next to him so that he can do the dirty work and do it well, as we saw against Wolves, but also, as we've seen for Norway. But there is, I think it's a very, very different system to what we're seeing at Fulham. Yeah,
it's interesting when you have that contrast of someone who feels like it's not going great for them at Fulham right now, but when they go away with their international team, it feels like it's absolutely flowing for Sanderberg, and maybe that's just because he's part of a good team.
Yeah, some of his teammates, I think, are vaguely important.
So did Haaland score 16 goals in this qualifying campaign? Which is a record, yeah. It's just insane.
That helps. Yeah, we could tell you what, bring him in.
Yeah,
and I reckon Sanders' game would up.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I think we can try. Who we got to call in order to make that happen?
I don't know.
And then, have you got anyone else? I mean, we kind of mentioned Harry Wilson, although I guess most of that evidence is going to be on Tuesday night, which is after we record. Was there much else international that took your eye?
Timmy Castagne got an assist for Belgium, and they drew 1-1. Nice assist for Hans Vanaken. And they're pretty much there now. I think they just have to avoid losing to Liechtenstein. which I'd imagine they probably will,
Yeah.
to top the group. So, look, it hasn't been a vintage Belgium qualification campaign, I don't think, by anyone's suggestion, but they've done enough, and they'll be there. And look, Timmy Castanier's done a very, very solid professional job at fullback, as he so often does. But it was a nice assist, I thought.
And I just thought, John, that there was this other nation in World Cup qualification that did something quite good.
Oh, I didn't see it. I
Did
wouldn't
you not
know. I think we
know?
should move on.
I don't think anything else happened
No, I
during
think we
World Cup
moved
qualifying that was that interesting.
No, me neither. Troy Pallet Ballon d'Or. It's on. It's on. Sign him up. We need a striker.
How good is he?
I think he is genuinely quite a good player. I would be a bit upset if Fulham were like, yeah, this is what we're going to pin all our hopes on right now. And that's no real disrespect to Troy Parrott. I just think that the next move for him has to be like a slightly more thought through one than him bouncing off somewhere in January. He's been really good for RZ for the last 2 seasons, or at least last season and a half. He's having a very good campaign. I think it's 10 goals in 19 for his club, and now obviously 5 in 2 for his country. It's been a pretty consistent set of performances. But yeah, I mean, obviously just a moment of magic. And
Incredible.
Where were you?
I was up in town, and I was watching it, and there was a lot of falling to my knees and a lot of crying, and so I spent Sunday evening out in the village inn in Hamwell celebrating until the early hours of the morning. It was pretty special.
I mean, just the odds of that. It wasn't even on my register that Ireland could actually salvage that, because you looked at the final 2, you were like, you've got to beat Portugal.
We had to at least draw with Portugal, and then we had to beat Hungary in Hungary. There was the minimum 4 points, but 3 of them had to be in Budapest. So like even beating Portugal as opposed to drawing with them didn't actually change the outcome of the final game, which is a really strange one to kind of get to.
Yeah.
But
Had you beaten Armenia,
we'd be level on points with Portugal, yeah. Yeah. I don't want to hugely talk about it, if I'm honest. The only thing from that is, and people have been saying this, and actually I think if you look at the Ireland-Portugal game, the first one against in Lisbon, actually Ireland probably had done enough to earn a point. Portugal were the better side, no doubt about that, but like there was enough. The Armenia game, Ireland deserved nothing from. Like, we were absolutely dreadful. So I kind of take, it's one of those things where people are like, oh, if we'd only got a point against Portugal, I can then be like, yeah, maybe, okay, that's a fair one, as opposed to we should have beaten Armenia, because on paper, sure, but actually they were just much better than us that day, and there's no, like, I have no complaints about that scoreline in the same way.
I mean, I have watched that goal back so many times. I've got
Unbelievable.
no affiliation other than Jack.
I've had a lot of this on ranks as well. Like, a lot of people messaged in on our post box on Monday to be like, I have no affiliation, but all I could think about watching that game was how happy Jack must be right now. So it's been. I even got one from Don Betts. That's how you know something big's happened.
No way. I mean, it's just that. It's just that kind of Roy of the Rovers. That's like sometimes only international football can almost give you that kind of a moment. I guess if someone scored 96 minutes in a cup final, maybe, but like, I guess also because even if it was a cup final and you were drawing, it would have just gone to extra time. It's the victory from the jaws of defeat thing. It's actually one reason why I was sad that away goals went away in the Champions League, because there's not too many times where you can get that in football, where one goal can swing it from from winning to losing almost on both sides.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just amazing set of circumstances.
It's funny because I was talking to a few people about this, and obviously, you know, a lot of my friends are England fans, and I was talking to Lucy, and she was like, you haven't qualified, you've just made it to the playoffs. And I'm like, yeah, but like, from where we were to have a shot is like snowball's chance in hell kind of stuff, right? Like, and someone was like, I don't really get it, like, why are you so invested? I was like, I'll tell you what, I'll explain it like this. If Fulham on the final day of this season stay up, right, like, say that's what it comes down to, and we win to stay in the division, we will celebrate like mad, right? To a Chelsea fan, they'd be like, I don't understand why you're so excited. Like, as in you haven't won anything, or it's like a bit like when people win the championship, and it's like, yeah, all right, you won the championship. It's not, you know, it's not the Premier League, but like, it's expectation versus reality. And so, you know, when England have gone through a perfect qualification campaign and won 10 of 10 and not conceded a goal, then obviously you can look at that and be like, yeah, okay, these two things are on a complete different scale, but the equivalent is effectively this: getting to a point where we might qualify. Qualifying for a World Cup would be winning the World Cup from France. We haven't been there since 2002. Like, to be there and be part of it, I think would just be so incredibly special. So to give ourselves a hope when all hope felt lost, that's why I think it was so emotional and such a magic moment.
Yeah, I love it because actually I don't have that with Fulham. You have a feeling of you support the underdog, right? I know we're in the Premier League and we're not like a League One or League Two club, but we're always kind of the underdog. And with England, I don't get that feeling because obviously, yes, we don't win tournaments, but we always qualify with the exception of 2008.
Yeah, it's like qualification has become so incredibly routine.
But also,
like there hasn't been any, not even any, like there used to be at least some jeopardy in England qualification, right? Like for the last 2-3 tournaments, it's like it's been such a plain sailing adventure that it's almost like it doesn't matter. Yeah. And so for me, like, and as like a not just an Ireland fan, but like a genuine fan of international football, like I love internationals. Like it was one of those things that I always kind of dial back into. And I imagine that must be quite difficult. And I have quite similar conversations with like friends who are Wales fans or Scotland fans. That like we love qualification for tournaments because there's so much jeopardy involved that it feels like every game matters so much. And I can understand why from other perspectives, not just England but Spain and France, etc. They must be like, oh, I gotta go through this again. And I'm totally fair. But like, I do love the jeopardy of coming from it from a different angle.
Yeah, I think you said it best. Being Fulham fans, we maybe understand it a little bit more. If you're an English Chelsea fan, it kind of just might not sit. But I think, given the Fulham perspective, I understand that success is relative. Like staying up at the last kick of the season, like that's amazing for us. But yeah.
It makes you somewhat jealous sometimes. Like, but obviously, I'm not jealous because, like,
you get to go to World Cup,
and we might win it.
Yeah. And every 2 years, at least, we've got like that to look forward to. Obviously, the reason you're so excited because it's been such a, and you have those summers where you've got absolutely no dog in the fight watching every single international tournament. Yeah. So I'm not jealous, but at the same time, when you see those
moments like this don't exist within qualification for the England sphere, right? Like even if you scored a last minute winner, it'd be like, wee. 10 wins in a row.
Yeah. It's probably not worth the pain, though.
No.
I don't think it's worth the pain. I prefer to be on our side.
Wouldn't recommend.
Let's bring it back. We could talk about Troy Parrott all day. I mean, we had to indulge in it.
A little bit.
Let's discuss the news that dropped. Fulham announcing this at 6 o'clock on a Friday. I literally just got a beer and I was just like, actually, it was Jack Kelly that put it in the Fulhamish WhatsApp group, and I was just like, "Oh, for God's sake!" So the club announced that Rodrigo Muniz is going to be having surgery on his hamstring. He obviously went off in the Everton game after about 14 minutes of playing, and you could see that he was clutching his hamstring. So they've obviously decided, John, right, he's going to have surgery on this. I mean, it is the first moment this season where I just went, oh no. I actually genuinely, my heart sank.
Yeah, and we've had him obviously missing a few games earlier in the season. We've seen how that went. We just don't have the depth. I don't know what we're going to do. If Jimenez picks up a little knock again, it's back to Adama up front, and it just doesn't work. So it's very worrying times. I don't know. I feel like Muniz, when we first got him, could stay fit, and now it's just been a bad 6-month period for him, and it's tough for him because this is a season that I think when I was last on it, we spoke about this could be his season to really grab that number 9
Well, he
shirt.
hadn't signed the contract at that point when you were last on.
Exactly, and now it could be his. Jimenez could be coming off the bench and getting 20 minutes to rest Munez's legs, but he can't get a run of fitness in the team, and it's a real shame, and it's a big problem for Fulham, I think. I'm worried.
Yeah. It's such a killer blow because it's so long. And look, I don't know if we're rushing players a bit back from injury. Like, obviously, we saw what happened with Anthony Robinson, where, the club clearly decided that he was fit for that game against Cambridge United. He played 90 minutes, if I'm not mistaken, and we haven't seen him since. Yeah. So the idea that, there might be little bits and bobs, and we've been not lucky with injuries, because I don't think that's fair. I think we've suffered a fair amount of bad luck with injuries, but we've been very good at not rushing players back, not seeing repeated, re-aggravated injuries over the last sort of 2-3 years. I think it's, if a player goes injured, they get injured. Like, luck of the draw, totally random, it happens. It's not frustration in the same way that it is for someone like an Arsenal, for example, where they keep picking up the same injuries and you're thinking something's not right there. I've not had that question about Fulham. Yes, players get injured and we have certain players who are more injury prone than others, fine, but it hasn't ever felt to me like it's been all the same thing over and over and over again. This is slightly worrying to me because it looks like a re-aggravation of the same injury. And similar with, a couple of other players who have picked up knocks, Anthony Robinson, as we talk about. When you see these things happening again and again, that's when it starts to worry me. And I wonder if we just pushed him back a little bit too early. And look, we needed something in the Everton game, right? Because we were so poor up to that point where he came on. But also, if he wasn't fully fit at that moment, what would we have done to, if you take that back and you go, yeah, okay, we were losing that game, we lost that game, we were going to lose that game, we were second best for 70 minutes, I think, at the very least. Like, would you just give him the extra week to rest it? And
well, especially when you were going into a 2-week international break. But I think part of me also wonders, like, if he needed surgery and we'd have found that out sooner rather than later. We could have given him 2 weeks. He could have played against Sunderland, and we'd have still found he needed.
Yeah.
If effectively they've said run it out, let's see how you get on for a couple of weeks, and they've actually gone back and gone, well, look, you're obviously just going to have to go under the treatment table.
It was such a weird injury because like people weren't sure what happened. So like, some people were like, yeah, he was just feeling sick, so he went off. And there was like a real thing about this on like Twitter and whatever. So this is
when I arrived here, I didn't know the extent of the injury. I think that's why. I think I've been like
duped.
Yeah, I thought it was like, oh, he's not that bad.
Because I remember like
no.
the chat was going off, and I was like, Muniz got injured, and someone was like, nah, he's feeling sick.
Well, the weirder thing was in the stadium. I don't think we really talked about this post-match, but the stadium announcer got the substitution wrong because Tierno Barry was about to come off for Beto. Tierno Barry is 11 and Rodrigo Muniz, and Beto is 9.
Yeah.
And obviously Rodrigo Muniz is 9, and coming on was number 11 Adama. So they announced so obviously the Everton announcer, as Rodrigo Muniz came off, said substitution for Everton coming off number 11 Tierno Barry and coming off number 9 Beto, but then on came Adama and it was Muniz. So it was very
confusing.
Everyone was and that substitution, the Barry for Beto substitution, didn't happen for another 5 minutes.
Right.
So it was utterly confusing anyway. And then obviously you realise, I think it was fairly clear it was an injury. Like you don't come off after 14 minutes because you're sick.
Yeah, I mean, look,
like, surely you weren't fine. Oh, I'm fine at half time, and now I'm sick.
Yeah, but maybe the oranges were bad.
Well, maybe.
Can I ask a question that, I mean, obviously for the short term, it's terrible news for Fulham, but is it something that going into January will put maybe Fulham in a better place of going? I know financially not so, because clubs are going to know we need a striker, but maybe this tips it to no, we need a striker. Yeah, and Marco Silva can go. We have had Jimenez all season. That's it.
I think that a lot of people talked about the transfer window, and I wrote an article about this after the Everton game, and a lot of people are talking about midfield, and rightly so, and understandably so. And this is something with the power of hindsight, but I think. And obviously we know that we messed up the third choice striker in Kusi Asare. But I think if you were going to be absolutely ruthless about Fulham's recruitment, and I have to attest, I did not say this at the time, I'm only doing this with the power of hindsight, we needed to upgrade Raúl. Yeah. Because he's not... If you can't rely on your second striker to play 90 minutes, which clearly it seems the case with Raúl, is that he's not able to put in a 90-minute performance... and I don't think it's helping that he's playing through, I don't think necessarily playing through injury, but Marco did attest that he isn't 100% fit himself, which isn't helping. You've got an unfit 35-year-old, 34-year-old playing up front. I think actually in brutal hindsight, we maybe needed to look at the situation and go, Raúl's been great, let's get a proper second choice striker who can actually challenge Rodrigo Muniz. And I think now we're paying the price for that because yes, of course that striker could have potentially been on the bench all season and there could have been an Armando Broja situation. But I think I do think actually that's maybe one area of recruitment which I didn't see at the time, but I think that we've overlooked. Maybe
there's an opportunity potentially here. Do Fulham go back into that conversation for Tyreek George? Because
he's not a striker.
Well, he's been. I mean, every single minute he's played for Chelsea this season, he's played as a centre forward. So, like, you look at it and think, okay, there's someone who, all right, look, might not be the answer, but the point is that if you and as a lot of people do see Rodrigo Muniz as the number 9, right, like going forward. You know, it's very difficult to bring someone in and be like, right, you're the first choice striker, because then where does that leave Muniz in the pecking order? And actually, if that's the case and he's actually a second choice striker, we should have sold him in the summer because, you know, if you're looking at doing it in a different way. So if you see Rodrigo Muniz as the long-term answer at the number 9 position, which is a perfectly reasonable viewpoint to hold, then surely in this window you bring in someone who not only can play up front but can play in a number of different positions. Now, I'm not saying that he's the answer, and to be honest, I don't think this is. But looking at someone like who's of the mould of like a Richarlison, who obviously Marco knows, and look, again, I don't necessarily think that is what we should do, but Marco knows who can play as a 9, who can play wide, whose stock is at a low. We know about the rejuvenation clinic, right? Like, and it's a player that Marco has loved working with before. Like, if you're going to go and bring someone in here, which I think we probably should do, and look, there is a point maybe to be made that if Marco is going, to sign this contract, and we'll come on to that, I'm sure, like, and we are talking long term, if he doesn't think that Kusiasari is good enough, can it in January? Can it? Cut the loan. Like, there's no point having him around, especially if this is a period here where one of our strikers is injured, and he's going to be injured till probably late January, early February, in terms of what the kind of recovery timescale is like. If he doesn't get opportunities between here and the January window, we should cut that loan short on the 1st of Jan. I don't think there's any debate about that, because you need to find someone that he can trust, because we can't carry on in the same format. Now, maybe this changes. Maybe Marco's had a couple of months with him and thinks, okay, he's starting to settle in. We obviously saw him a little bit at Wickham. Like, maybe there is a change to this where we see Jonah Kusiasari for the last 20 minutes of games going forward from here. And in which case, that conversation changes about what we need in January, if there's going to be something we can trust within a player who's already on the books. But as it stands right now, I think that probably you do have to go and find someone in the January window who is going to be able to, one, play up top, but then probably be able to mould into multiple positions, because Rodrigo will probably be the 9 going forward. And maybe in the summer, it's the end of Raúl's time with Fulham at this point in his career.
Do you wonder, John, if we might have regretted selling Jay Stansfield?
Yeah, I mean, I think
would have been an option.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, it's a scaled down version, but it always gives me a little bit of parallels to like the Cole Palmer thing. It's like at the time when we sold him, like you're getting, what do we get, 20 mil for a kid to go to league? I mean, I think you probably have to take that in Fulham's position. I don't know where you boys sit on it, because he's so talented.
It made sense, logically.
But it's a sign that you go, yeah, like,
we should have probably made sure there was a buyback in there, I think is probably
that's insanity. That is a bit of a mistake. But with PSR, I mean, selling a player for just pure profit for 20 mil, it's a no-brainer at the time. But going into this season, I was always worried with just Muniz and Jimenez. I didn't see the injuries coming to Muniz that had come, but Jimenez, at his age, with his injury history, obviously come back from a very serious injury and done well to do so. But I just thought, like, almost hanging your hat on a 34-year-old to be that main figure, or maybe a backup to Muniz, but with his injuries, it was just always a risk. It was just always a risk. So now I think for me, we have to go in January into that loan market at least and just find a player. But I don't know who that player is.
Gabby Jesus.
Another player coming back from injury though. I mean, when's he kicking a ball next?
The other thing is I can't see that kind of deal being possible on the 1st of January. And that's what almost we need, because of the timeline of Rodrigo's injury. We can't wait till 31st of January here. Like, you need someone for January.
Yeah, no, like, I totally agree. I just don't know. I don't know where that player is. A player that's good enough to come in on the 1st of January and make an instant impact is probably not going to be sitting on the bench somewhere not getting any minutes. And they're the kind of players that tend to move in January, the ones who are a bit kind of frozen out. Now, I don't know, maybe you can go, you either have to take a chance on a youngster or sign a veteran. And those two things are very different in terms of where they are. We can sign a youngster, I'm sure we could, and I think everyone would look at it and think, yeah, it's probably the smarter move at that point. But also, we know that Marco likes players that are a little bit more seasoned within their career. He's not someone to throw youngsters in, here and there all the time, as we've seen, right? Like, you talk about Jay Stansfield, but what about Callum Osmond, who didn't get an opportunity last year in the first team, despite the fact that he was banging in goals for the under-21s, because Marco decided to stick with Vinicius coming off the bench for those last 10 minutes when we had injuries late on in games. And now you see Callum Osmond playing under Martin O'Neill from 2-2 for Celtic. Like, and look, I'm not saying that Callum Osmond was the answer for what it's worth. Like, that's not what I'm getting at. The point is that we know that Marco tends to trust the more senior players. So therefore, you have to look at someone at the other end of their career in January, rather, because you're not going to get a prime 27-year-old who isn't playing any football. Like, you need to find someone who's sort of at the other end of the spectrum. And I don't know who that player is.
I think the problem is that there's been a drop off from Raúl this season. And I think that Raúl still contributes, and I still enjoy watching him play, and I still think he brings a lot. And strikers do offer more than goals, but he has 1 goal this season.
Yeah.
That header from the set piece against Villa is Raúl's only goal, and
he injured himself doing it.
Yeah, he went straight off after.
And can you actually also remember Raúl making too many more? I don't think it's also that Raúl's missing sitters either. I don't think the chances are falling to Raúl. Now, some of that's on the service, but at the same time, I also think some of that's in the fact that I don't think Raúl is necessarily terrorising defences anymore. And last season, the Muniz Raúl combo worked so spectacularly, and now this season it's just without one part of it. You're realizing, oh wait, this is the Raúl Jimenez that none of us thought was good enough to lead the line when we sold Mitrovic.
Yeah,
and it's kind of, we're here now 2 years later, and I mean, obviously people are talking about Aaron Lupalo B because he is scoring goals for the under 21s. I mean,
it's a lot of pressure, isn't it, to put him in?
A lot of pressure. And I think if Marco thought he was ready, he would have put him in the cups by now.
Yeah.
It's a long way to then start against Sunderland and Spurs and Palace and City in the Premier League.
Yeah.
I feel like I really like Aaron Lupalo being, he's done excellent work at youth level, but like if we're not seeing a Jonah Kusiasare who was tearing it apart at youth level and tearing it apart still for Sweden, brilliant for Bayern at the youth levels. If that player isn't making it into the squads or getting minutes on the pitch, and that's not to say that he's better or worse. I feel like that's a kind of fool's errand to try and run that kind of comparison. But I just, again, last year, if we didn't see Callum Osman coming in those games where there was injuries, and we turned instead to Carlos Vinicius, who'd been putting out cones for the previous 3 months, like I just don't see why. If he didn't do it then, I don't see why we do it now.
Yeah,
doesn't feel very Silva-esque, does it? Not at all.
I can't see him chucking in Lupalo B. I just don't think it's even. It's a worthy idea. I'm discrediting those that have come up with it, and he is scoring goals for the under 21s.
I just think we're much more likely to see Kusiasare. And I don't think we're that likely to see Kusiasare.
Yeah, and then obviously the question is, and we might come on to it in the Sunderland preview, is exactly who we start up front if Jimenez is still not 100% fit, although he has been playing for Mexico. So, right, we'll take a break there. Afterwards, we will look ahead to that game on Saturday against Sunderland. Jack, John, obviously we got Sunderland this weekend, one of the world's biggest shipbuilding towns. And if you want to go on one of those fine ships, aka a cruise, you need to check out My Kind of Cruise, the world's first cruise booking app and website. You can't get cruises from Sunderland, but you can get cruises from Newcastle.
Don't tell them that, they'd be furious.
What? Sadly, I guess that's just
more
life.
Anti-Mac and propaganda, they'll say.
And with My Kind of Cruise, you can go anywhere in the world and find out where all the latest cruises are going from. So from Newcastle, they've got cruises to Genoa, to Split. They've got a 2 nights Mediterranean to Barcelona, a Caribbean cruise as well. If you want to go on a cruise, do check out My Kind of Cruise, the world's first cruise booking app and website. They've also got apps on the Google Play and Apple App Store. And if you use the code Fulhamish, you'll get an exclusive discount off your next cruise. So whether you're an experienced voyager or you're a first-time cruiser, this is the website you need to check out. My Kind of Cruise, founded by a fellow Fulham fan. Go check it out and use the exclusive discount code Fulhamish to save money on your next cruise. Part 2 of the Fulhamish podcast. Sammy here with John and Jack. John, actually, before we get into anything, last time you were on the podcast, you had just that day gone to the gym with Adama Traore.
It's true.
And then since then, obviously that video has come out. It's really, really fun.
Yeah.
So there was only limited things we could ask you about it.
Yeah,
What was that experience like of being in the gym with Adama?
Yeah, it was brilliant. Do you know what was really funny? Because when I first got there, we had the whole production team, everyone ready to go in the gym. Great, setup. Adama strolls in, looking all cool, comes over and he's like, "Nice to meet you," very polite, everything. He's like, "Just to let you know, I'm not doing anything today in the gym." And I'm stood there with a production team, producers, myself, everything prepped for the video, thinking, what? And in the video, just before he was speaking to me about, he's got his own gym program coming out and he didn't want to release too much information. So I sort of used some of my skills to calm him down and be like, "We're not here to steal your program. just help us out, talk to me through some things. And he really got into it. By the end of it, a man who said he didn't want a gym was doing pull-ups with 50-kilogram dumbbells attached to his waist. And I've really never seen a footballer anywhere near as strong. It's ridiculous. I know we all know it anyway, but just being next to him, like he's 95 kilograms and lean, and like the arms are out here. It was an experience.
I mean, it's just insane, isn't it? And I can't. But did you not I would have felt really inferior? And I don't know what you're doing at the gym. But imagine more than me. I would just be so embarrassed to try and actually lift a weight.
I'd love to see Sammy go to the gym with Adama and just be on the the stairmaster.
Some hot pants on.
No, it'd just be that really embarrassing moment where we used one of those machines and you get the little pin and his is down on the bottom weight at 120 and I just put it up to 15.
You just take it out.
Yeah.
Trust me, it was the same for me. It was the exact same. No, it was brilliant. I really didn't get the response. We went massively viral for his hair. I don't know if you saw.
Yeah.
For the tricep, everyone was saying the hair looked like tricep ropes.
Yeah, it was
but
cool.
It was everywhere. I couldn't believe it. It was all over the internet. My Twitter was full of it for weeks. I was like, I spent ages on this. I'm really proud of it. And all people are talking about is his hair. But oh well, it did well, so we take it.
Yeah, mate, it's a really, really, really cool video.
Yeah, it was good fun.
We'll put a link to it in the description if you haven't watched it. Of John taking on Adama at the gym.
That's politely worded.
Yeah, maybe not
tried.
Just
Adama spotting John at the gym.
Yeah. There's a clip of me benching, and he's literally just lifting it up. He's just doing all of it, and I'm like, I'm so strong. Yeah.
Oh my god. Let's before we discuss the Sunderland game, we should discuss, Jack, the latest Marco Silva contract rumours. There's been a lot going round over the weekend that Marco he's been offered, or the club are in the process of offering him.
I believe he's been offered it now, according to the latest from Sky Sports.
A 3-year deal. This doesn't mean that he's going to sign it, though, as far as I can infer. But obviously, you imagine that if the club are leaking that they're offering him, they must be relatively hopeful that a signature's incoming. What was your thoughts?
So I saw the post and it said a multi-year deal, right? It was very non-specific about how many years were in the multis. And I thought that was interesting because, there were obviously rumours that Marco wants a kind of longer term deal at this point. Obviously, every manager wants the longest term deal that they could possibly have because if it does go all wrong, they get a bigger payout. But I think that it seems like a step in the right direction. And bear in mind, we sat here last week and it was all a bit panicky. And, it was like, oh, God, what's going to happen here? Do we need to start looking at potential replacements and all of these elements? And it was like, are the club even going to offer him something? We don't know if this is what Marco wants, this deal. We don't know if it has the caveats and bits in it that, he wants in order to actually put pen to paper. But it's a start, right? And it's something that we can kind of work towards. So if we're sitting here going okay, there's something on the table that he can look at, and he might sign and he might not, right? But he at least can come back to it and be like, well, I want that to change, that to change, that to change, and there might be some movement towards the right direction. And after we sat here and talked about a potential impasse, it feels like at least something has been mooted that might suffice. So yeah, I think it's good news, and it's good to see some news that wasn't Fulham. I've started looking for new managers already. It's nice to see something on the other side of it. Yeah,
it was very about a week ago. It was very panic stations, wasn't it? Fulham, I felt it. There was a lot of pressure, a lot of stress, but it's a good sign. What if you're Marco Silva? Do you think he's just sitting there and his main standoff and main negotiation is what am I going to get in January? Because I feel like he's not going to sign anything unless there's promises there for January. I don't know Marco Silva, obviously, but I don't know if it's 5 years or 3 years or he wants an 8 year. It feels like it's just the transfer market, and it's like if we don't give him what he wants in that, I think he's prepared to walk away.
Yeah,
I wonder if he wants a release clause as well.
I do think a release clause. I think there'll be plenty of parts of it. I think you're right. That definitely transfer spending, and probably I wouldn't be surprised if it's bigger than just January. Sure, I need you to fix a couple of my problems instantly, but I wonder if he's trying to push for a change in the way that the club runs and is operated. Because I don't think he can be bothered with what happened in the summer again. And whether you personally think that our late business was right and wrong, and I've been on the camp of I didn't think our late business was all that bigger deal, but it's clear. Doesn't matter what I think. Marco clearly doesn't agree with the way that we do business, and obviously what Marco thinks is the most important thing by a mile. And so I wonder if these negotiations now, and Marco is a big enough character within the club, and he's got so much credit in the bank, whether he could be saying, I'm not going to stay if you just give me another contract and we just do the same thing as we have done this last summer. I wonder if he's trying to go for a much bigger thing rather than just like, I need you to buy me a midfielder and a striker in January.
Yeah, no, I'd be surprised if he isn't. And this is often, I think, posited as something like Marco wants more control over transfers. I'm not sure that's necessarily the case. I'm sure that all managers would like complete control of the funds that they operate with, but like that's not a way to run a football club either. And I would be pretty anti that as an idea. Like, there is a reason there are research departments and scouting departments and all of these things within a club and within every club as well, not just at Fulham. But I wouldn't be surprised if there were some caveats about, I need to have players in before pre-season. And look, that isn't always the case. And I often say this about contracts and players, right? There's an element about being like, promise you X amount of games or whatever. You can't do that. Can't do that in a player's contract. You can't do that in negotiations. And people are like, they want a guarantee of game time. It's nonsense. You can't guarantee game time in a contract because, one, it would undermine the manager's authority to actually pick the team, and two, what about injuries? What about rotation? What about all these different elements in the equation that I'm pointing to it? And so, when these things are discussed, I don't think it's a question of Marco being like, I want to decide on all the players that we bring in, etc., etc. I'm sure he'll have a say, and I'm sure he'll want said say, but I think he's a smart enough man to realise that that's not how football operates to the same degree anymore. But I wouldn't be surprised if he's there basically making a push to be like, I need things to happen earlier. I need a list. I need to be able to kind of be given a list of targets at the start of the summer. And look, it doesn't mean you can't sign any players towards the end of the window. Like, there is always opportunities and market opportunities to be taken up. But there needs to be some core things that change in terms of the players that we need within a squad to actually end up shifting the not the balance, but the attitude in terms of how Fulham go about their transfer business. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know how you would word that in a contract, but all you can do, I think, is give assurances. Equally, I feel like he might have been given these assurances before, and he's now sitting there with like, well, that just didn't happen. So I need something to change, and I need visible proof of it. And it goes back to what we were saying last week, right? Where the club are probably like, tell you what, sign a contract, we'll sign you some players in January. And he's like, tell you what, sign me some players in January and I'll sign the contract, because then at least I'll have some proof of action. And that's where it gets a little bit interesting, I think.
Right, boys, Sunderland on Saturday. And speaking of a team that did amazingly in the transfer window, I mean, what a season Sunderland are having. Playoff winners and, well, I say Champions League chasers, Jack says title chasers. Whatever you think they are far outstripping where everyone expected them to be. I mean, it's been an absolutely incredible season. You just look at their most recent results here, John. The win over Wolves, I guess that would be expected, but then obviously a 2-1 away win at Stamford Bridge in the last minute. We know what that feels like. Yeah. A draw against Everton where they should have really won because of their second half performance, and then that incredible 2-2 draw against Arsenal where they equalised in the last minute. They broke Arsenal's not just unbeaten run, but also actually managed to score 2 goals against Arsenal, which is not to be sniffed at. They come into this in incredible form, and I guess it's just worrying because in Fulham's position, wins feel really hard to come by. You're looking at the fixture list going like, can't guarantee that Fulham are going to win many of them, and generally at home against the team that got promoted via the playoffs should be the one that you're banking on. Yeah. And now I'm going into it, and we've talked about it, but some people would probably take a point from this game, and we need more than a point in reality.
We really do need more than a point. I mean, it's a team that's lost 2 games all season, so it's going to be tough. But
quite random, the 2 games they've lost, Burnley and United. I mean, I know United are new and improved, but
yeah, it is random. But I think we've got a good chance in this game based off of, maybe, I don't want to be patronising to my own love to Fulham, but we're not Chelsea, and we're not these games that they're getting up for. Arsenal 5 o'clock home kickoff. This is a game that Fulham we should stop some of the momentum. I don't see us losing the game. I've said it now. But with the fixtures we've got coming as well, we've got Manchester City. Yeah, we've got Tottenham, Manchester City and Crystal Palace. it does kind of feel like a must-win, because otherwise I look at those run of games and I don't know where we pick up another 3 points. This is the game where you go, I think we need to make a statement. We need to get ourselves away from that relegation fight. I'm confident we can do it based off the fact that you're not giving me any confidence here. Jack is just...
I don't have any confidence. So I'd love to give you some, but I'm really struggling.
Do you not see the logic of... It's not a game that I feel like, in a way that early in the season Burnley managed to get a result over them. It's a little bit like it's not a big game that I feel like Sunderland are going to be. They're going to be, I think, 22, 24 points they're sat on. They know they're in a great position in the league. I'm not saying they're going to come into the game and not give it their all, but it's a game where if we can control it at home, 3:00, it could be a more comfortable game. Whereas Arsenal, they haven't conceded in 10 games. It's at home under the lights at 5:00 on a Saturday. It's a game that you can see like, if this was going to be tough. If we were away, I'd be terrified.
If this was away, I'd be writing it off.
Yeah.
100%. No, I think that's a really good point. And actually, I was listening to Ryan Hunt speaking about this on Stadio, and he basically was saying, and as an Arsenal fan, he was like, the moment I saw this had been moved to 5:30 under the lights, I knew that this was going to be an absolute. He was like, I guarantee you, we win this game 1-0 if it's at 3:00. We just win the game 1-0.
Yeah.
And so there is an element of that, and I agree in terms of their away performances haven't been as good as their home performances. I thought they were very good against Chelsea, although they just basically didn't want the ball, and it was a very low block. It feels like the kind of game that might play into our hands. I'm just aware that we're dreadful off the back of international breaks. I'm aware that we've just lost our first...
Been better this season.
Where we've just lost our first choice number 9. We don't know how fit Raúl Jimenez is. I think he'll be fine because he played 70-odd minutes for Mexico in that first game against Uruguay.
Bit odd to let him go.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of didn't pick up the whole he was injured vibe in the same way that you did.
That was what Marco said.
Yeah, I feel like he's probably okay. But either way, like it feels like that might have been overblown somewhat if Mexico found him fit to travel and then play 70-odd minutes. And he didn't limp off either. He got subbed. Like it was fine.
Yeah.
So. Like obviously, if it depends how fit he is, we've got the Nigeria boys coming back with spirits at an all-time low.
Yeah.
I think that it's going to have to be very similar as a lineup to what we did against Wolves. Like we're going to have to go with something similar to that because it was the only moment it got any slightly better against Everton was when we had a little bit more attacking impetus in there. So you're looking at all of these things and thinking, okay, where's the spark coming from? Now I agree that I think Sunderland are not quite as good away from home, and I feel like they might not have the same impetus for this as they would for a visit to Stamford Bridge. But I think that they're in such a good role. I would shake your hand for a point.
No,
I would.
I don't think we can be. I don't think we can get a point from this game. I think a point is really bad.
Like, do you know what would be worse?
Well, yeah,
no
I get
points.
it. I get it.
And so, like,
I kind of agree with Sammy. I do think it's a must-win.
I agree.
The fixture's coming.
I agree, but like, and also it can be a must-win, and then also as in I don't think we're going to do that. So like, there are two things that can be true at once. And look, Fulham do often surprise us, right? I remember the Forest game last year where we went into that and they were at the height of their kind of like peak form, and it felt like Forest were the perfect side to play Fulham, that they'd sit back and soak up the pressure and counter us, and we put in our best display, I think, of the entire season, the way that we dominated in that game. So I'm not ruling out the idea that Fulham have the capacity to go and have one of those games. I just look at this Sunderland team and I think that they're really difficult to beat, and I've got a bit of a theory at the moment about Fulham, and also it plays into why Sunderland I think have played so well. The Premier League this year, the reason I think that Sunderland are doing so well, the reason I think that Arsenal are clear at the top of the table, the reason I think Liverpool are struggling, and the reason I think Fulham are struggling is because I think that the way that the league is setting up allows for teams who are more physical and direct to succeed in a bigger way. And the teams that want to get the ball down on the deck and play pretty football are struggling. It's one of the reasons I think that Liverpool have been miles off it at the top of the table. I think we are the team, maybe the most, struggling with it, change of it. Look at the goals in the Everton game. Look at the opportunities. They all come from an inability to deal with the physicality that Everton could throw at us. And I think we are good and are our best when we're playing nice, in inverted commas, football. Right? Like the Wolves game, we were able to dominate the ball and spray it around and knock it about, and it didn't hurt. The Wolves were absolutely dismal, but like those kind of games Fulham tend to play well in. When it becomes a war, we don't like it very much, and it's very different to what we've been like in recent years, where actually we've kind of liked the battles of attrition, but I think it's now gone a step further and we're like, I'm not sure about all of this. And I do worry that Sunderland are the exact type of team that are going to be like, make this a war. make it or war. And I'm struggling with where we're gonna find the places that we dominate in the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's one reason why, though, I wouldn't be surprised why our home form's good, because at home we are able to get the ball down and play our football a little bit more. And when we go away from home and we were in the cauldron of the Hill Dickinson, we found it tough, right? And we did struggle in the scrap there. I mean, I look at Sunderland, I've got a little bit of a thing on Sunderland, and this might age badly if we lose. But my thing is I do think they've had some good time fixtures this season.
Yeah.
Like, you look, first game of the season, they got West Ham, and West Ham were an absolute basket case. They played Aston Villa when they were in their terrible run. I don't think they'd get away.
We played Aston Villa when they were in their terrible run, and they ended their terrible run.
Yeah. They played Forest away when it was Ange, and they kept losing games. They've played Wolves, they played Brentford before they managed to find their feet. But some of the results, I mean, like the win at Stamford Bridge, the draw against Arsenal, like some of their results have been incredibly impressive, and there's just nothing you can say. I'm not trying to take it away from it, but they've had a few fixtures there that we could have only dreamed of in terms of the times that they've played other teams at their worst.
On that, right? Like, so there's a real thing about momentum, and I was talking about this when I went on Graham Falk's Sunderland pod yesterday. It's like, you need, as a newly promoted team, a bit of luck, right? Like, in terms of the draw,
we got that first season.
Yeah, 100%, right? Like, you need that. And what it does is it builds momentum. So now Sunderland can go into the game against Arsenal and be like, well, we may as well have a go at them and see what happens, and they end up with a draw. They're not worried about losing that game against Chelsea later on. They can throw a couple of bodies into the box and a long ball, and look, again, it's some poor defending, fine, but like, they take advantage of that situation. Sunderland come into this game against us, it's not a must win for them. Like, if this was a Sunderland team struggling at the bottom of the table, they'd look at this, especially where we are in the table, and think, can't lose there. Like, as in, got to get something out of that game. In the same way that I think Wolves would have looked at it and be like, God, we need to get something at the Cottage. Right? Sunderland don't need to win this game, so they can play. And they can play how they want to play, and they don't have to be scared. If Fulham win this game 2-0, people are like, oh, Sunderland lost the game. They shrug their shoulders and move on. Yeah. Like, and I think that has given them an energy and a momentum that they're like, oh, we can just go out and do our thing without having to worry about being sucked into the malaise, into the mess at the bottom of the table. And the more freedom they're given, the better they're playing. And so you get to those Arsenal and Chelsea games, and in very, very different ways. I thought that they managed those two games really, really well. And so that, I think, is the thing that worries me in terms of this one. And yeah, I think we can get the ball down a bit more at home and dominate. And yeah, I think we have players that can hurt them. But I think that, they go 1-2-0 down, they'll be like, oh, we'll give it a go. And you know what? That's the kind of thing that we just really don't want coming up against us right now. And look, I sound all doom and gloom, and I'm not that doom and gloom about Fulham. I'm just worried about this game because I think that Sunderland have all the things pointing in their direction, especially that they know that a load of players are going to leave for AFCON very soon. And they're like, we should probably squeeze the juice out of those players while we have them. I just don't like it as a fixture.
Well, there is one team that's struggling with AFCON. Have you seen how many Sunderland players? 7 Sunderland players are going to AFCON.
It was all everyone was talking about in the summer, wasn't it? With their transfers, they were caveating that they had a fantastic window, but AFCON. But if they have 38 points by the time they get to January, it probably doesn't matter too much, does it?
John, talk about Granit Xhaka, because, I mean, he has been the star, it feels like, or certainly the one that everyone's talked about. I mean, what a pickup.
What a player. I still don't understand how they've got him. It doesn't make any sense to me still, as at the time of recording. But, yeah, clearly the heartbeat of the team, captain. I mean, yeah, he's a problem. He's a problem for teams like us because he's clearly elevated this Sunderland team and given them a level of belief, which I still don't know where it came from. The player we watched was obviously at Arsenal fantastic, and they had good periods, bad periods. The whole captain's armband thing, went off to Leverkusen and did the unprecedented, won the league unbeaten. Come back now to the Premier League, and I thought. I actually will admit, I thought it was a little overhyped. I thought, surely, like, if he's leaving Leverkusen, there's got to be a reason. He's probably a little bit past it. I mean, I'm sure it'd be a good pickup for them, but did not anticipate this level of success from Sunderland, and I think he is the heartbeat of the team.
He's elevating the players around him as well, and I think that's a kind of key point because he's taking a lot of the limelight. He's also taking a lot of the pressure and the burden of it. Because if you think about, Habib Diarra, who's obviously got injured now, or Noah Siddiqui, who come in, young players, loads of talent, but not used to the league and whatever. I think a lot of the time, if they were playing together, if that was the midfield, and it would have been a very talented midfield if it was Diarra and Siddiqui right together. But I think that people would have looked at it and gone, okay, we're going to try and steamroller them. And instead, you've got Granit Xhaka being like, don't worry about it. You do your thing quietly and, leave the argument with the ref to me. Leave the kind of combative bit to me. And it's really allowing those two. I said, I think Siddiqui is absolutely wonderful. But there's a couple of players like that where you see the elder statesman, and I hate to be complimentary about our rivals down the road, but I think there's a reason that Yarmulke has emerged for Brentford this season with Jordan Henderson next to him. There's a senior pro. And look, I don't particularly think that Jordan Henderson is that good or has actually been, unreal. I think that Yarmulke's actually been the player in there that you go, wow, okay, that guy could be special. But having someone next to them that just gives them the freedom to do their thing, I think we're seeing very similar with Xhaka at Sunderland. It was a very, very smart bit of business. And I also think that it probably influenced the rest of the transfer business that they ended up bringing in. Nori Mukiele and Litcho Herchoida end up joining Sunderland if they don't see that and be like, oh, Granit joined. That's pretty cool. Maybe there is something to get involved in, and suddenly you have this incredibly talented group of players who no one thought was going to end up the Stadium of Light playing under a manager who I rate incredibly highly. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, their first season feels very Fulham under Marco Silva, right? They signed a really impressive defensive midfielder who kind of solved a lot of those first season problems. I think they'll have quite a similar season to what we had that year, where I think they'll bloody quite a few noses. I think they'll beat the teams around them that they should be, which is what they've been doing. They've picked up a couple of shock results here and there. I'm hoping that also that season for Fulham, there was a few games we lost where we got picked apart by teams that had been in the Premier League. I'm hoping that's the case, but I see Sunderland being a long-term option in the Premier League with their current setup and manager. I think they're here to stay for a number of years under Reggie Lebris. I mean, it's amazing to think they only just about sneaked up through the playoffs with that last-minute Watson goal. It could have been all so different had that game gone differently. Let's look at this from a Fulham perspective. How are we setting up here? Because there's a few things to work out. Obviously, Sasha Lukic is suspended with his 5th yellow card of the season. Our bet for most yellow cards.
Vintage. Is he ahead or behind João Paulinho in the yellow cards race? That's the big question.
That's the real season question.
To pick one up in November is impressive.
Well, Dewsbury Hall got one in September, didn't he? That was kind of wild. He got 5 in the first 5 games.
Yeah, he got that, and then but that one that he picked up against West Ham for nothing was he was livid about. I wonder, Jack, just looking at the team, and obviously a lot of it picks itself. Leno, and I imagine Anderson. I wonder if it's time for Cuenca.
If I'm honest, I would look at the team at Wolves and go Control C, Control V. I would just play the exact same team. We know that Lukic can't play, and I think that would have been a question mark if he could, if it was actually him that goes in the middle. But I think without him, there's not really much choice. I think that's the natural thing to do. And to be honest, there's kind of a level of, do you mix it up a little bit in terms of...
Well, the lineup that day was Leno in goal, Sessegnon at left back, it was Bassi and Anderson, Tete, it was Iwobi and Berger, and then it was Wilson on the right, King in the 10, Kevin on the left, and Jimenez up top.
Yeah, that's probably what I would go. The only question mark is, do you throw Chukwueze into the mix on the right? But I think it's probably not off the back of what's just happened. So, yeah, I think I would just go with that team.
John?
Yeah, I probably am inclined to agree, to be honest. I think we're lacking options up front, so that picks itself. Hoping it can be a game that Kevin can get on the score sheet, because I feel like that's needed. We need to see some more output from the wings, not just Harry Wilson.
Well, suddenly now, all of a sudden... Kevin on the left is really the only option, because if you've got to put Iwobi in the 8 role, because there's no Sasha Lukic and there's no other real centre midfield option unless you put Harrison Reed there, which he's not going to do, or Tom Kearney, I don't think he'll do. The only one for me is I just wondered if I don't think Bassi was too bad against Everton. I think he was best of a bad bunch possibly, but I didn't know if maybe Cuenca could come in here. I just wondered whether the penalties thing against Nigeria maybe knocked confidence, and Cuenca's been at Motspur Park for 2 weeks. That was the only one for me if I wondered if he might consider it. But then again, John, if we're needing physicality against Sunderland, then Bassi obviously offers that.
Yeah, and I think in football the best way to get over a bad performance or a bad moment is to play, and I think it would be harsh to just put Bassi on the bench after a bit of heartbreak. You probably just want to get him going and get some form again, rather than sort of having him sit there and probably just thinking about that penalty on the bench whilst watching the game go by. But it's a big decision for Silva to make. Tough game. I want to see Josh King as well. I'm looking forward to seeing Josh King in this game. Really want to see his output and see if he can get on the score sheet. So overdue a goal in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Just deserves a goal, so it's coming. And
I think it was a clear. I wouldn't say it was an error from Marco. I understood why he started, but I think Josh King proved when he came off the bench early on in the second half. Oh right, okay, no, we have to start trusting this kid and not worrying about his overplaying him or anything like that, because he's clearly ready. Clearly.
I'm obsessed with his ability to take the ball and
the
on the
half
turn,
turn.
and just it's the way he turns. It just turns everything. He turns like an average progressive pass into like, oh, we're on the attack.
Very Phil Foden.
Very Phil Foden. Yeah.
All right, well, we'll go with the same lineup then for.
He ain't got that many choices.
We really don't. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
What do we do if? I mean, it seems to be that it's not a problem, but Marco did say it after the Everton game that Jimenez has been struggling. Like, what do we do?
Well, I mean, the question is, what will Silva do?
He'll put Adama up front. He'll put Adama up front.
Would he not put? Would he put Chukwueze? Because he did kind of do the Chukwueze thing against Everton. He put Adama on the wing and put Chukwueze at centre forward.
I wouldn't mind that as much.
Yeah, I mean,
it's still not great, but I would mind it as
he
much.
looked out of his depth against Tarkowski and Keane. It wasn't a fair fight.
Yeah, and I mean, if we're going to lob aerial balls at Samuel Chukwueze to fight with Dan Ballard, then we may as well not do that.
No.
But hopefully, with the ball a little bit more on the deck and potentially a bit more possession, then maybe you can try and nip around those players a little bit more than trying to engage them in an aerial duel.
Just had a nightmare of Dan Ballard scoring a header. I could just see it. I've just seen it at the
Oh
Coventry.
yeah.
We'll know how Coventry fans felt with that that playoff semi-final. A couple of emails just before we finish. Andrew Stevens says, "Hi Fulhamish. Given the poor points tally thus far this season and the potential for a further weakened squad during AFCON, do you think the club are going to chuck money at this problem in the January transfer window? And how much do you think the managerial situation regarding Marco's contract situation will impact that decision? Are we going to be buying players for a manager who might not want to be here at the end of the season, if not sooner? After travelling to Everton and watching that performance, I'm genuinely worried we might be sleepwalking into a relegation battle we aren't equipped to fight." That's from Andy Stevens.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know if the club are going to throw money at it in January. I don't really see it. I can see us revisiting a couple of deals that we might looked at in the summer. I can see us picking up a player or two, but I don't see Fulham going out and dropping 80 million on 3 players in the January window. Like, one, that's not really been our strategy for quite some time, and 2, that's a terrible strategy. Yeah. So yes, and I think the Marco question hangs over all of it, but I don't know what any of the answers are right now. We're going to have to wait and see. And look, maybe there is a new contract signed, and then maybe there is a bit more of an impetus to go and sign players for not just this season, but for next year as well, who are able to make those things happen.
This one from Harrison Doyle. I like this question. Curious for your take. How many of our starters definitely start for more than 4 Premier League teams this season? My dad and I were discussing it after the Everton loss, and we concluded it was 7, maybe 6 players in our starting lineup who for sure start for more than 4 Prem teams. Is that a strong enough starting squad for us to expect more than a mid-lower table finish in a good scenario? So let's work through the squad and work out if they start for more than 4 Premier League teams. We'll go with the Wolves lineup, as I literally have it to hand here. Bernd Leno.
Yeah, I think Bernd Leno starts for more than 4 teams. Initially, I haven't gone through it. I know Jack's going through the names. I'm thinking...
He starts for Wolves, he starts for West Ham.
Burnley.
Yeah, he starts for Burnley, ahead of Dubravka.
Sunderland.
I think maybe at the start of the season he would have said yes, but Robin Roos has been probably the story of the Premier League season. He might start for Chelsea. Yeah, I think we can just about say this.
Leno's in. Sessegnon at left back. I'm gonna say probably not.
Yeah, I'd say probably not, especially because there's a couple of teams like a Burnley who you just expect to be the answer for all of them. Like Burnley have Kingsley Hartman in there, who's been absolutely unbelievable all season long, and was one of those pickups I remember seeing and being like, hang on, what? Burnley signed him. Probably not, yeah.
Yeah, as much I don't think
that's not really a criticism of Sessegnon.
Works for us, but I think Bassi.
Yeah, I think Bassi does.
Anderson.
Less so, but yes.
Yeah,
I think that's really on the fence of Anderson.
Yeah, it might be 5, but I think it probably is 5.
Yeah, Tese. I think yes.
Yeah,
more than 4 for sure. A Wobie in midfield. I think yes.
I think Iwobi does start for more than 4 sides, but not necessarily playing in that central midfield role.
Yeah, I agree.
But
I think it's close.
No, I think Iwobi would be like is one of those really, really clever players that managers like. He's a kind of player that like managers would want to have in terms of like versatility and being able to play him in different ways.
Yeah,
and this is they have to be in the starting 11, not just like I'd like to have them in my
squad.
I think everyone would like to have Iwobi in their squad.
I think Iwobi would. I don't think there's that many others here.
Berg?
No, I don't think so.
Josh King? Starting's quite hard at the moment at his current level.
I think if you factor in that he's come through their academy, not do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
if he's a
if he was
Leeds
a
boy,
homegrown
he started.
talent,
If he's a Burnley boy, he started. I think if that's factored into
I think
it.
Josh King probably does, but just like it's not that much in it. Like it's the teams around us rather than teams. Yeah. Unless he'd come through the elite program at the City, and then suddenly he'd be the golden boy of the generation.
Maybe playing him in left back though. Let's be honest.
That is true.
Kevin?
No.
Not on current form. Wilson? No.
Probably not.
No, I can't.
Maybe not more than 4. No, maybe 4.
Probably about 4. Yeah.
And then Jimenez?
No.
So we said Leno, we said Bassi, we said just about Anderson, I think. Tete, that's 4. Said Iwobi, that's 5. Josh King, 6. And then Jimenez. No, sorry. Josh King, 6.
We said 6, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's about 5, 6. Yeah. I think that's about the right level.
I mean, obviously there is like Anthony Robinson, if he was fit, who we think probably starts for more than half of the teams in the Premier League comfortably.
It's one of those questions where like on paper you think like good or but Fulham are always a bit of a sum of the parts team, or have been in the last couple of years. There's no and it's been one of those questions we've talked about with signings and stuff. Like we can't sell anyone for loads of money because there's not anyone standing out in that regard, because actually it's been a bit of a team combined effort in many ways, and that's where our strengths have lied. So
and there are lots of teams in the Premier League who are doing better than us this season. I'd look through their squads, and quite often I go like, wouldn't be that bothered about them playing for Fulham, wouldn't be about actually it's the sum of the part. Like Everton was probably a great example. There's quite a few players there. I mean, obviously there's a couple that you'd love Ndiaye, you'd love Grealish and
Dewsbury Hall.
Yeah, actually on him we just have this email here. I've just got it. This is my final one I want to finish on. This is just the most blunt email I've ever got from Michael Judge, who says, "Hi, I believe we could have got Dewsbury Hall from Chelsea. Best, Michael Judge."
That's amazing. Also underneath, President of Sales.
Yeah, President of Sales.
It says. That's brilliant.
That's big facts, I'm afraid, from Michael.
Michael's just coming in here with just pure opinion. No,
I love it.
Facts. Thank you very much, Michael. Thank you for all your emails. hello@fulhamish.co.uk if you want to send us one. And also we're getting lots of Christmas This'll Catch Ons coming in as well, which we're very excited about. That'll do for the pod today. Jack, thank you.
Thank you, Sammy. Always a pleasure.
John, thank you.
Thank you for having me, boys.
Do check out John's podcast, The Nearly Men.
Yes, you can find that wherever you indulge in podcasts.
Indeed.
Yeah, exactly. Wherever you're listening to this podcast, type in The Nearly Men and check it out. And also, if you haven't watched his video of Adama Traore, it is honestly absolutely excellent. We will be back after the weekend, looking back at what happens in the Sunderland game. We'll also have the quick take, and do check out all of our articles as well on fulhamish.co.uk. Have a good one. You whites.
You whites.
You whites.